Welcome to Portland Film Beat. I'm Dave Pullen, and my guest tonight is Michael Bartlett. We're going to talk about his film, House of Last Things. How you doing, Michael? Nice to have you here.
Nice to finally meet you, Dave.
Yeah, okay, great, yeah. Did you have any form of training to become a filmmaker? Because this isn't your first, how many films have you made? That's 3 questions. Let's start with this first one.
I don't remember the first one. Okay.
Did you have any formal training?
It's an interesting question on many levels.
Okay.
Because, you know, in my former life, I like to say I was a professional musician. I was in the orchestra in Berlin. So I think actually my training in film began as a musician in the orchestra.
Oh, really?
Because I played, you know, with a lot of the really great conductors of the tail end of the 20th century. Mm-hmm. And it's not directing a film that they're doing. They're directing an orchestra. But there are a lot of things you can learn from working with a great conductor. And then after that, and as I was a member of the orchestra there, I made my first feature, Concerto for the Right Hand, 16mm film. Mm-hmm. And to answer your question, 3 features. This is my 3rd.
Okay.
The exciting thing about this one is, of course, it's my first one in English, which...
yeah, because you lived in Germany
I lived in Germany for quite a while.
Were the other ones in German?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Wow. And 2 German documentaries as well. So that makes this particularly exciting for me. You know? I directed in German. I even did some acting in Germany, in German. You know, I'd like to get back to that here maybe. But and then, of course, that Concerto for the Right Hand was accepted then at the Berlin Film Festival, and then that led to my acceptance at the American Film Institute in Los Angeles, where I then had formal
training. Okay, you did
training,
go there. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Tell us the premise of House of Last Things.
Oh my God. You know, it's such a twisted little mind.
It's a dark film, but it's not one of the, you know, gory films. I mean,
no, it's not gory. It's actually more of a very dark, metaphysical kind of mind-bending thriller. You know.
Okay.
And harkens back actually to the kind of storytelling that I remember really loving when I was growing up. The films, the novels of Ira Levin. Ira Levin was actually the writer of books like Rosemary's Baby, The Boys from Brazil, Stepford Wives. He wrote all those amazing things. They became amazing films, but none of them are really what you'd call gory. But when we think of them as pretty darn scary.
Well,
you know?
Yeah, but a lot of times the scarier movies to me aren't the gory ones.
Yeah.
The gory ones aren't that scary to me.
Well, you know,
So House of Last Things. We're going to watch the trailer later.
There are a few.
Is the house haunted, or you don't have to give away too much, I guess.
You know, it's a combination of the house and I'd be giving away some things now. You want me to do that? I'll do it.
No, that's all right.
But it's actually kind of a metamorphosis, because the story itself is a married couple that are actually going through a very difficult time in their marriage, and we don't really understand why. That's part of the mystery that's going to unfold and unravel during the film. They go off to Italy and they leave the house in care of Kelly, played by Lindsay Hahn, who maybe some of you know from True Blood. She is then quickly joined by her younger brother, who's a little bit needy and on many levels, and he's played by R.J. Midda from Breaking Bad. R.J.'s first movie, a feature film at least, and then Blake Barris, her kind of very dark, edgy, trashy boyfriend, comes into that picture as well, and the 3 of them become then this new kind of nucleus living in this house, and none of them really belonging, because the house is actually the home of a film, not a film critic, God forbid, a music critic.
Okay.
A classical music critic, in fact. And the house kind of becomes an education for them in a very strange...
Does their relationship affect the house?
Their relationship?
Right, their chaotic relationship. Is that what causes the house? Because to me, the house is also a little... there's something wrong with the house as well.
Yes. but I think most of that is really resolved in the third act of the film as a part of who this. I gotta say, you know, Micah Nelson, who plays Adam, is very pivotal in the storytelling, and it is a part of the chaos in the relationship between the married couple that go off to Italy.
Okay.
You know. But I'm trying to dance around what all
You
the
don't want
plot
to give away
points
too
are here.
much. Yeah, you
No.
don't want to give away too much. Some of the good news, though, is you actually got distribution. You've got distribution in a lot of places, Russia, but you just got distribution in Germany. Is that right?
Yeah, it's been coming for a while. You know, these things take a while. I don't really announce these things until they've really happened.
Right.
I think we've been really blessed because anyone who works in film, as you do, knows how difficult the indie film market is
it's hugely
right now, and
hard.
it's just getting worse all the time.
That's because there's so many of them made.
Well, that and yeah, that of course.
And you know what, they're getting better at being made.
True, but
Better stories and
distributors
stuff.
have so much to choose from now,
Right.
and it's very hard to get out there. I think we came in actually at the tail end of the physical market for DVDs because, as you all know, you know, it's harder and harder to even find DVDs to buy them anymore.
Right.
You know, most people have to order them online. So we've been really lucky. Our film will be released in Germany, Blu-ray and DVD, and it's been released in Russia, in the UK, US and Canada is coming up. Thailand, I'm probably forgetting something, but we're doing very well.
House of Last Things was at 14 film festivals here in the States, or is it
Actually,
worldwide?
we did things kind of backwards. We started actually in Europe.
Oh, really?
We premiered in France in January 2013, and we'd been to France the year before. We were invited. Our very first event was the America in Progress, U.S. in Progress event, which is for films that are almost finished. They're invited to the Champs-Élysées Film Festival in Paris, and ours was one of them. And that gave us a leg up for the future in France. And then we were invited back to Gérardmer for their fantastic film festival.
Right. How many awards has House of Last Things?
4 or 5, I think, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of them. It's great.
Yeah. And some wonderful festivals, and we've met a lot of wonderful people. And, you know, Mexico was great. Yeah, it's been a lot of travel and an education as well.
So you must speak fluent German. You've made some documentaries in Germany, correct?
Right.
And you've made some films there, is that correct?
Sure.
What did you learn making this film here in the United States that you didn't already know? Because you had to learn something making that film.
Well,
was it shot primarily in Portland?
Oh, it was shot entirely in Portland. Yeah.
What's your things you learned? Let's get back to that question.
Well, I had to learn to work with a smaller budget. The film the last film I did in Berlin.
But you had two great actors from Breaking
I had
Bad.
more than two. I had Lindsay Hahn, R.J. Blake Barris from Days of Our Lives, and I had local talent here as well. Micah Nelson, Diane Dalton, and Randy Schulman. Randy has been featured in a few television things here as well, Grimm and things like that. There, you know, I look forward actually to meeting more of the community. I feel one of the liabilities I had going into this feature was I still was relatively new to Portland.
Right. How many years have you lived here then?
About 9 now.
Okay. Yeah, but.
Yeah, you know, and we started this production, you know, the tail end of 2011, 2012, getting things together.
Right.
And I didn't really know that. I didn't know the acting community that well at the time.
You know, I've been involved in a long time, and every week I meet a couple new actors.
Oh yeah. Well, they're coming here too.
Yeah, they're coming here too. Yeah. Briefly describe the appeal you think House of Last Things is going to have for audiences.
Well, my hope is that it will appeal to an audience that is looking for dark kind of
It's a thriller.
material that is not, I mean, getting back to the gore and all of that, you know, I mean, a lot of people there's a huge fan base for this. You know, I learned that at visiting many of the genre festivals we've been to. But at the same time, there's a real hunger and need out there for films that kind of cross into a territory where you know, kind of the mainstream audience wants to get them involved. And you know, when you look back at a movie like The Sixth Sense, yes, there was.
I was thinking that film
you
too.
know, there's some horror and gore in it, but it's mainly a character study in a way. It's a drama, you know.
Right.
And I do like drama, you know. This is my
absolutely.
first time sort of getting my feet wet in this this genre, you know.
How long did it take you to write it?
I don't maybe a half a year off and on.
Is it based on experiences in your life or just you know,
Well,
wild dreams?
No. I guess, you know, I felt very comfortable, you know, with a character whose livelihood was being a critic for classical music, because that opened up something that I was very familiar with and felt very comfortable with. And I think one of the difficult things about making this film was the classical music, because we needed to have composed also new music, film music. But when you're pulling all of these incredible recordings
so the music
of
was
Beethoven,
composed right for this.
oh yes, we did compose music for this, but of course we used recordings for Beethoven and Mozart and all of that. But our composer had to be talented enough and meet the challenge to actually bridge between those classical composers and our actual soundtrack. Andrew Poole Todd, here, local composer in Portland, did a magnificent job. He's also a violinist, and we actually played together very briefly in certain orchestrations in the film. And Alessandro Ponti, in just outside of Milan, we all worked together. And I have to say, I'm probably not the film director you want to be working with if you're a composer, because of my background. You know, I'm pretty demanding and pretty. We spent probably a long time.
You've got a keen ear.
Yeah,
you've got a keen ear to it.
Well, this film really demanded the music is as much a character in this film as any
is it a part of it? Okay.
Oh yes, very,
sometimes
very
that can
important.
be great. That's great. So, what are your film's strengths? What is House of Last Thing's strengths?
Well, I think it's visually very strong for an indie film. In this
what kind of
budget
camera
range.
did they use? Do you mind?
Oh, this was the red one.
Was it? Okay.
Actually, we used the red one, Canon 5Ds, for the opening sequence, as well as a Phantom, and we had to bring all of that together in the editing room. I had wonderfully talented people. I mean, we had Ken Kelsch as cinematographer. He goes way back, doing the original Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel.
Really?
He came out.
He was here in Portland?
He came out from New Jersey to do the film. You know?
Wow.
That's a whole story that I could tell how that came about. But and working with Ken was wonderful, because you know, he came off of shows like Medium and.
Wow, you had some great.
Yeah.
Did you have a local sound person, or?
Yes. Yeah. Gosh, now you got me. See,
No,
in
that's
one of
okay.
those moments where I don't.
If you think of his name, you can. Or
I
her
will.
Name, you can,
I
you
will.
can say it. What are your films?
Paul.
Paul. There you go.
Paul.
We'll remember his last name
We'll
later.
get the last names.
What are your film's weaknesses?
Weaknesses. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't see any weaknesses in the actors. You know, I would never blame or fault them for, you know, the buck stops kind of here.
Sure.
But I think time, we would have fared better with more time. But that's, you know, every indie filmmaker is going to say it. More time, more money.
There's never enough time.
No, of course not. You know.
And then you get rushed.
Right, yeah.
And you got to do something quickly. And
the rehearsals were essentially the blocking for the camera.
Well, at least you got to rehearse.
Yeah, well, that was about it. You know?
That's great.
Yeah.
We're going to ask this last question, then we're going to cut away to the trailer, and we'll come back and talk about it. How does your film primarily differentiate or distinguish itself from other works like it?
Well,
it's kind of a thriller, chiller, like Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
But Sixth Sense gave you more chills at the end, where this film, I think, it's kind of a thriller all the way through. Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say it has kind of a a slower build that, you know, works up to quite a big payoff, I think, towards the end in the third act. But what was the question again, David? I mean,
how does it differentiate or distinguish itself from other works?
well, I think what it has going for is it is very original in its premise. There's no question about that. I think, you know, people will like to see similarities with films that I loved, you know, The Shining, or
when we see the trailer, it draws you in, that's for sure.
Yeah.
How about, all right, we're going to actually take a couple minutes right now, and we're going to watch the trailer from House of Last Things, and we'll be right back.
Well, just think about it.
This ticket is for tomorrow, Alan.
Then think about it in first class. Come to Italy with me. I'd like you to meet my wife, Sarah.
Is this where I'll be sleeping?
I guess so.
Kelly! Look at this place. Are we gonna have some sweet times here or what?
Jesse, can we go to bed now? I'm feeling really strange.
Go to bed.
You saw something too, didn't you?
Jesse? You stole a kid! Why? Why?
I don't know, why?
What's he doing here?
Why don't you tell me your name? Mine's Mary. No, it's not. There is nothing about him in the news, Jesse. Nothing. It's like nobody wants him. They don't want him back.
You lied to me, Alan. You probably lied to me about everything.
Would you shut up about the past?
It's just remembering the house. Things it wants to forget but can't. This isn't happening. We're gonna wake up. It's all gonna go back to normal, right?
Just make it stop, please. Make it stop.
Jesse, what have you done?
Wow, that was an awesome trailer. I think the camera work and stuff brings some of the excitement to the film. I mean, you can see there's tension. It seems like there's a lot of tension all the way through the trailer. And that's why I said that, you know, it seems like there's a lot of tension throughout the whole film.
Yeah, there is. It's sometimes a very, you know, it's just kind of under the surface for much of the film. And I think it really takes off, I think, in the second act when things start to, there's a lot of little clues, a lot of little hints at what could be, and a lot of red herrings that lead you off in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
It's, you know, and because it plays in parallel universes, it plays in the past as well as the present. Right. And then on top of that, you have this parallel action going on in Italy simultaneously. So bring that all together, you know, the audience kind of has to stay on the ball a little bit. You know,
Mike and Nelson, I know him, he's a great kid, but he is kind of creepy in it.
Yeah, yes.
The trailer, anyway, he seems like he's a creeper.
Yeah, he was wonderful to work with.
Oh, he's a great kid.
Really?
I know.
Yeah. He, you know, he works so professional, and
he's always prepared.
Delight to have him. Yeah, very prepared. Yeah.
How do you work with the cinematographer? Because you don't do the cinematography yourself, but you've got to have a vision for what you want. And the cinematographer, how do you work with him to make certain that your vision comes through?
Well, you know, I mean, this sounds a little, you know, I've been really spoiled all my life with cinematographers. You have to understand, at American Film Institute, our cinematography teacher was Conrad Hall at the time, whose last film was Road to Perdition. There were terrific people there. Wally Pfister, who probably so many of your audience know through films like The Dark Knight and Memento and all that.
Right.
He was a student there, like all of us at the time, and he shot my student film, you know. And then I went off to Germany.
You got your student film? Really?
Yeah.
Well, you are spoiled then.
Well, I was, and then I went to Germany, and I was spoiled with Eckhard Pollack, who went on to do Gamer. So I've always worked with really wonderful cameramen, and I think if I think I have a how should I say it, an easy connection with cinematographers because my films are very visual, and it worked that way with Ken too. Ken coming off of a body of work that it would be enviable for any cinematographer. But we got along well. It was never any kind of, I don't do storyboarding, but I do. My screenplays are very.
You have a shot list, right?
I do shot lists very early in the morning before that.
Yeah,
the
they
day
are.
of that.
At least you have that going.
Yeah. But the script itself is always fairly detailed as scripts go. So it's easy for a cinematographer to kind of immerse himself into what I was thinking and feeling,
Right, okay. What's your favorite part of filmmaking?
Well, as much as I like the actual filmmaking process, the shooting of the movie, which is, I know for everyone, has to be the exciting part, and it is exciting to a degree, but I love the post-production process.
Do you do the editing yourself?
Well, I worked in this case with Michael Minden Ward, who had came from USC Film School and just moved back into the neighborhood, and we met very, by chance, and I took him on as an assistant, and by the end of the film, he was, we were co-workers, and so we both get equal credit for the editing. I don't really understand the whole, editing, there's Premiere and there's Final Cut, and I sit there but I don't push the buttons. I don't want to get involved in it. There's only so much.
It's a lot to learn.
It's a lot to learn, and they know how to do it. They know how to do it well, and working with Michael was wonderful.
Very
I mean,
good. What's your least favorite thing about filmmaking then?
But the post-production process, if I
Let's
can
go.
get back to it.
Okay, we can talk about it. Let's go.
What I like about it too is it becomes a lot more intimate.
You see the story come to life.
You see the story come to life, but you work with maybe 5 or 6 people then, your editor, your composers, your sound designers, your sound mix, color correction, all these people. But you become more of a family at that point. When you're shooting with we had a crew of about 40 people, and we had a cast and all that stuff to deal with.
You had a nice crew.
Yeah, it was a good crew. Yeah, most of that crew came right after that. I think the last or the second to last season of Leverage.
Okay. Right.
To us, So that's one of the things I like about post-production is this. You can really get into discussions. You can talk about the edits, the cuts, and you don't have time to do that when you're shooting a movie. You just have to. You have to do it.
All right. So, what's your least favorite thing about filmmaking?
Well, I think, as a reluctant producer on this film, we had several producers.
You did that too.
Yeah, Renee Barrett, my executive producer, John Manning, a producer, Liz Brandenburg, myself. That process of getting funding together, which
that's the worst part.
It is really the worst part, and then dealing with casting and coming to the reality of what you can, who you can get in that budget range, and narrowing it down and still hoping to get the best talent you can. And,
you got some good talent.
Oh, we did. I was very, very lucky.
How do you work with the actors?
Well, you do what you can under that pressure. I mean, I think when you look around at really great directors working today, they're all working with incredible talent. Right. And there's a reason for that. A great actor brings a lot to the table.
And they can do it quickly.
And quickly.
And they need to do it quickly.
And that's why, my leads, R.J. Mitta, Blake Barris, Lindsay Hahn, they were very fast because, R.J. working on Breaking Bad, I mean, as young as he was already, very sovereign, very familiar with the process. And then Blake Barris working on Days of Our Lives, that's a daily show. They get their sheets the day before, the night before, or on the set, and they have to make it work, and they do a really
They do.
good job of it. So working with people like that was a huge advantage on this film. You know, I think, you know, you sit down with your actor before the shooting even begins, and you talk about their role, their part, and they take it from there. And then as you're shooting the film, if you feel that things are kind of going astray from what your vision was, then you kind of intervene.
Okay.
But I don't like to be constantly on. Yeah.
Yeah. Good for you.
Otherwise, you're paying for these people. In indie film, not a lot anyway, but you're only getting half of what they can do if you're
Let 'em do what
constantly
they're-
telling
yep.
them what to do.
Yeah.
you
Don't
know?
push and pull.
Yeah.
Right. In shorter time here, but I want you, since you have successfully completed some films, any advice for someone trying to get a film made?
Oh, wow. You know, the glib answer would be just do it, and it's not that easy anymore. Although, of course, you can shoot a film on your iPhone nowadays.
Right.
I went to American Film Institute, but I think like anyone else today, you know, it's so easy to access films and study films. And I know when I decided I really wanted to get serious about film, and since I was so always drawn to the music, the soundtracks of these great films I was watching, I started shutting off the audio entirely. You just start watching the film,
Okay,
the
right.
edits and the cut.
Right.
And that can become very instructional.
Cool.
You know.
Listen, we're running out of time here. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Portland Film Beat. I want to thank Michael Bartlett for being here and talking about his film, House of Last Things. I want to thank our director, who is Ellery Nelson, who does a great job in the studio. I want to thank Christo, who sets all this up. He's awesome. I want to thank my wife, Carol Poland, who's the producer. And until next time on Portland Film Beat, shoot for the silver screen.